Testing, just making sure I can hear my voice. Can. Bueno. Friday to people filing in. If you're expecting Andy, I'm sorry. He switched with me yesterday. Get my pen out here. Oops, I don't want that. Some people slowly moving in to the live stream here. Just go ahead and use the chat window if you have anything you want to discuss. Especially if anybody was sent here by support. If anybody was sent here by support, we've been waiting. You guys, you get full priority. Hello, Shaw. All right, so we're off and running here. Hang on one second. Let me get some water. All right, as I said, it's Friday. Welcome to my desktop. I'll usually just start rambling about the markets. I just finished a podcast with Michael, the one that we do and release on Sunday, and we talked about how the market's been pretty strong and resilient. But when we look at something like Nvidia, this was an important takeaway we just talked about on our podcast, trading wise. What happened? The market was all about Nvidia earnings, Nvidia earnings, Nvidia. When your barber, your hairdresser, your Uber driver starts talking about being in Nvidia and stocks, that's usually a macro sign that we're nearing the end of a big move. That's one concept. The second concept is, what does the charts tell us? And it kind of confirms what I just said, you guys. This is the earnings date right there. Big spike down and up and reversal. So sometimes in hindsight is 2020. We call those reversal wicks because they say, "Oh, I can't wait to talk about XRP, Shaw." They talk about these reversal wicks in hindsight, but how hindsight do we want to get? I mean, this is just yesterday, okay? As we speak, everybody down here has been conditioned. Nvidia, right? Got to buy the dips, Nvidia. And all of a sudden, it's not working. And so they're real close here to having to make a decision. And these are kind of the genesis of how trends start to get broken. These people were one last stand for buying the dip, and now they're being challenged. And I'll tell you, if we go into the weekend with Nvidia looking weak, it's not going to bode well, I think, for other stocks. That's just one angle. The other angle we talked about just now in our podcast was, I don't know if you've been looking at the headlines, but there's some geopolitical risk going on out there. And all week I've been kind of dumbfounded that, some of these headlines don't really disturb the futures very much. But now we're heading into a long weekend. And so personally, I'm in about 65, 70% cash. I'm long a couple things, a couple of short squeeze names. I'm long some game. Actually, I might sell out of this today if I get a nice move. I'm getting a nice move. I might take this off the table going into the weekend. These SEC names, the Gary Gensler, he just resigned from the SEC. A lot of these names like DJT, I'm also in, and Rumble and GameStop. These are all heavily shorted names. I think there's some fear going on. So I've got a small theme in the limited number of names that I am in, and you pretty much just saw it. I don't know if Patrick's here, but Patrick, I think I'm going to take some silver into the weekend. So I probably shouldn't have said cash. Some of that cash could be counted as silver. It's not a stock, that's the actual commodity. So going into a long weekend, if something were to happen, gold and silver could gap up. So I don't mind going long silver. When is the XRP launch? Did they set a date? XRPW? Oh, the ETF. No, they haven't set an ETF yet. But let's get into that. There's a lot going on over there. Okay, so here's the XRP daily chart on my screen now. Excuse me, the hourly chart. Let's go to a daily chart just so you can see how crazy this has been. And this is kind of crypto in a nutshell sometimes. So here's XRP. Here's the election down here. And what happened? The new Trump administration is friendly to crypto. Oh, so we got a bid. And then all of a sudden we started to hear, draw an ear, rumors of Gary Gensler at the SEC retiring. That boosted this. Then we had a nice technical building of a base camp here. Perfect conditions. Rising 10 SMA on the daily. And then we have the official Gary Gensler resignation letter, January 20th. It's official. We've got catalyst for a second pump and a move higher. We actually clipped $1.50. Now, personally, I would like to thank Gary Gensler for being an asshole, because it allowed me to literally stack XRP down around 50 cents for a while. Here we go. Even in the 30s, I was buying some in the 30s. Started buying up here in the 70s, 50s, 30s, 60s, 50s, 50s, 50s. So I want to thank the SEC for acting like tools and keeping the price low so people could figure out what was maybe going on and get in on a nice level. I have no interest in chasing any of this stuff higher. I am positioned. And not only am I positioned, I'm not thinking about an exit strategy. There is no exit strategy here. To me, this is like digital real estate. And at some point, if all goes well in the new ISO 222, you can look that up, ISO 20022. It's kind of the backbone of a new digital global economic financial system. And this all fits perfectly into it. XRP does. And that being said, down the road, my intention is not to sell this. Where are you going to go? My intention is to lend the XRP tokens to a giant institution that needs those tokens to facilitate transfers. And what a perfect segue, facilitating transfers. Do you know why XRP is so valuable? Because when you try to buy something with Bitcoin, it might take you 5 minutes for a settlement. I stumbled across this webpage last night, and this is a real-time, I'll drop it in here. It's a real-time look at the XRP network. And I went to GPT and had ChatGPT explain it to me. These are stable coins transacting on Binance, Gemini, Binance, Coinbase, Crypto, Uphold. These are fiat. So like when I would come in and use my debit card and I would buy a crypto with fiat, it would go through Uphold. And you'll see Uphold come through here. Look at all these transactions in real time. You can't do this with Bitcoin. So this is why XRP has been sitting in the shadows watching and learning from Bitcoin, which is a great store of value. Think of Bitcoin as like the gold of crypto, but start thinking of XRP as maybe the global currency or the preferred currency, the dollar. Not to use the dollar word. You think it was launched in a few? Yeah, it might have been launched in a few European. Oh, the other news was Robinhood. You can actually apparently buy the crypto XRP token and hold it on your Robinhood account. My daughter did some of that too, so that helped boost the price higher. But I'm just fascinated by this real-time exhibit of the speed and power and efficiency of why XRP, number one, was passed the sniff test and was not labeled an asset. It's clearly a utility. It's a currency, a digital currency, and it's providing liquidity and value, especially cross-border from one currency type to another. Additionally, over here on the XRP ledger, all this in green, at some point, people are saying they're going to start tokenizing real estate and assets and artwork and bond. And those all go on to what's called the XRP ledger, which is the actual backbone of this whole system. The XRP token is just a fluctuating value right now, which I hope goes a lot higher. Dan does not like the image of that globe. I sent it to him and he was fascinated, but I didn't talk about the globe. He sends me crap all day long and I just click out of it. He knows how I feel about that. Side story. But yeah, isn't this, I meant to drop the, hang on, I meant to drop the link in there. There is, that's what I'm looking at right there. So I do too, Shaw. I've got the Nano X and I use Ledger Live here. I'm not going to maximize that, but you know, it's tracking it in real time. And I've got XRP, I've got XLM. So let's talk about XLM. XLM is the baby brother of XRP. Think of XRP as the the institutional grade. Yeah, I've been stacking it for 3 years down around 50 cents. And we finally got our move. The elections, change of administration, SEC is stepping down, the lawsuits going away. It's all hopefully blue sky now to allow this technology to evolve how we hope it will. And I have no intent of selling, no exit strategy. It's just going to be an asset. So yeah, Ledger hard drive. So XLP, I've got that. XRP, I've got XLM, which is the baby brother. Think of this one as you're holding the bank and you want to send your friend some money or you want to buy something from somebody in a garage. You pull out your wallet, which is your ledger, and you send it by way of the XLM ledger network. This is the peer-to-peer version. So think of this as replacing Venmo and Zelle. And XRP, think of that as replacing the global US dollar currency, global currency. And then XDC is a smaller one. I've got that too. I don't really understand that one. And I've got some Doge. The only reason I got Doge is that it also came to life after the election. And if you guys recall, I think I'm starting to like conspiracize, if that's even a word. Elon was pumping the hell out of Dogecoin 2 years ago. I mean, did he know that he was going to become the director of the Department of Government Efficiency and call it Doge today? It's almost like he knew it. And so there's something weird going on there. Maybe somehow this coin becomes involved in the whole program that they're doing. You know, you get, if you're a whistleblower, you get 1,000 Dogecoin or something. Who knows? How about XRP's massive circulation? Yeah, I mean, going back visually, this is the globe, which we live on, not a flat plane, which some people think. This is real time, and it's kind of fun to watch. There's the Cayman Islands. Look at that. Florida, look at all the U.S. destinations, people across the country just transacting, buying it, stacking it. South America, then you see a lot of China and India. But it's global, and it's fast. When I buy it or transact it, it hits my ledger in 3 seconds, which is important. Dumb to buy. Yeah, it might be. I wouldn't do it. My daughter did it, but I'm holding some XRP tokens for her as well. So I don't know what she's going to do with that. It's not ideal to let your tokens be stored on your screen somewhere else in the cloud. Like Shaw and myself, I've got the XRP Ledger, and I use Ledger Live. It's fascinating to watch it, you know, in real time come down off of the Uphold exchange, and in 5 seconds, it's on your hardware device, back in the safe. Well, back to your original comment, Shaw, about how high can this thing go? I would never make a prediction. I would like to think over the course of a few years, it could make it to 100, you know, a nice round number. Some people think 1,000, that would be ungodly. It would be amazing. But what you have to think about is the amount of supply. It is limited. I think it's 100 billion. And a lot of it might be locked up in Ledger and other things that keep it off the circulation, just like the stock market. You've got insiders and institutions that hold and they don't circulate it. It's not part of the circulation. So when it comes down to it, maybe the XRP ledger just blows up more than anybody ever thought, and everything becomes tokenized and digitized. If it's an asset, it's going on the ledger. Well, then you're going to need enough tokens to facilitate transactions to be the grease in the wheel. And if your XRP token is $2 or $5, you're going to need a hell of a lot of them, as we look at this web page, to facilitate these transactions. So consider the higher the price of the XRP token, the less needed and the more efficient it could be. And that's the bet for everybody who's holding on to the token XRP and thinking it could get to 1,000 or some of these ridiculous numbers. There's no reason to think it can't, but the catalyst would be how quickly do people adopt this technology and put their assets on the ledger and digitize them, whether it's artwork, yachts, real estate, treasury bonds, you name it. If it's an asset, it can be tokenized under this new paradigm. All right, so that's probably giving people a seizure. Let me get that off the screen. I'm sorry. We can go back to talking about trading. Oh, I missed a couple questions here. Guy, that's a good question. We want to so badly, and if it was easy, we would just flip a switch. But here's what you have to consider, Guy. The stock market of old has a pre-market, a post-market, and a dark period overnight. And that dark period allows our architecture, what we call our processing time, to go through and clean up everything and get the highs and the lows and the closes and grab the overnight data and the changes and the reverse splits, everything, and compile it and get it ready for the very next day. That's easy. That's what we've been doing. What's not easy is evolving to a 24-hour market where there's no pause, there's no reset, there's no processing time. So it involves like some creativity and some redundant servers and timestamps and all sorts of weird stuff. So where we are on that is in the concept phase, is to trying to whiteboard it. We're in the whiteboard phase, let's put it that way. How are we going to make this work? Not only because we want to, but because we have to. Some of you may have heard the stock market might be going to a 22-hour trading period. Well, that still gives 2 hours of processing time. That would give us, some help in the market. But crypto never has that dark time. They're just 24/7. And when you hit 00 at universal time in England, the date flips over and the percent change zeroes out and you start again for 24 hours. So we have to figure out how to deal with that and still allow our processes to work. But good question, Guy. Yeah, once your crypto gets hacked, it's gone. So you got the 24-word seed phrase spread in paper around different hiding spots. You don't want to put your seed phrase online or digitize that either. Yeah, when trading crypto, there's a lot more fundamentals that are the catalyst that kick it into gear. But as I was showing you, once it's kicked into gear, the technicals kick in. It's just basic. We're still on daily. Look at this rising 10-day SMA, hold Doge. It just keeps kicking Doge into play. That's technical. XLM, it won't even touch its 10-day moving average. It's ripping to new highs. XRP, this is technically very healthy because it was just a wonderful consolidation period. Call it a bull flag, a pennant, whatever you want. And then boom, another catalyst. So they kind of work together. You have catalysts of fundamentals, and then you just use the technical analysis to kind of gauge what's happening. I don't think the 22-hour will affect our scanning too much. No, methodology won't change. If anything, it's going to be a hardship for us to figure out how to adapt. But, the industry recognizes there's a lot of players that need time. So They're yet to even put the rules on paper and set any dates. And they usually do pilot programs and they give developers, 6 months to get ahead of any changes. So it's not going to happen overnight. It'll be a slow process. When we go back to the hourly, and here's Bitcoin, it's just hovering under, oh, it's going to make another attempt here, 99,179. So my prediction, along with Michael, is it's probably going to hit 100 and probably trigger a bunch of stops and might spike. But a big spike and reversal, if you see that through 100, that's going to be textbook, 100K roll, $100 roll they have in stocks. It's a round number. It's a psychological number. It's a goal. It's also a place in which people kind of sell the news, if you will. So there's a lot happening at that psychological, and it's yet to print it, but we're very close, and they're probably making the headlines as we speak because it's probably going to happen here. In the futures, yeah, in the futures, I guess it probably did. I'm tracking over here on the. I guess this is what I can't remember. This is Binance. It's like. How am I finding catalysts? Well, Jay, I've been doing this a long time, but I do have my tools here. Now, a couple things going on. This scan is only going to show me stocks with extremely high short floats. So I'm looking at these charts, and then just what we were talking about. If I had noticed Omar last week, look at how it spiked and gave us one, two, three beautiful days of pullback. This is my bread and butter, the 10 SMA daily chart. This pretty much just tells me when to take a chance for entries, and when it takes out prior highs, I like to be a seller. So to me, a day and a half is the perfect time frame. Day one is always going to be that big monster God candle. It didn't happen over here, but it did happen here. Day one, and then day two, like a half a day where I'm kind of flipping. So that's my style of trading. I'm not a scalper. I'm not really a day trader. I use a 15-minute time frame. And over here, I'm using the same thing, a 10 candle SMA. It's not daily, but it's 10, 15-minute candles. And it just tells me where momentum is. So I'm using this scan. And would I jump in right here today? No, that's a FOMO chase. I would never, if there's one thing to take away, Jay, from me, is to never jump in and take an initial position when a chart looks like that. You're just asking for pain. But the concept is to use these tools to try and find things, maybe that aren't exploding today, but maybe they're down here. SMR is a name I've been trading a lot lately. And that becomes what we call a trade around. You jump into them on the pullbacks and you fade out on the big moves up. Beautiful trend line in SMR, and it still has 29% short. So I'm kind of putting a few things together, Jay. I'm putting the concept of short squeezes, using my scan to find the short squeezes. And then one more thing, which we haven't talked about, would be like a price alert. So if I'm looking at some of these names and I want to maybe keep aware of something, and since I like to buy pullbacks, let's see if I can find a good example. What I'm trying to get at is when to use the price alert. Okay, so maybe a break above this $15 level in CLSK, which has 22% short the float. This is the third component here. So we're using the scans, the concept, short float. But right click in the chart. This is very important right here as a trader workflow. Setting the price alert. You could be talking to your friend, laughing at a meme, and all of a sudden, boom, this price triggers. And you're like, oh, yeah, I wanted to participate on this 22% short flip, but I was waiting until it broke this high, and it has room to run. That's the key. It has room to run. So this is how I would use my tools that you're looking at. But right now, I'm not really in an aggressive mood. We're going into weekend. I've got a few things working. Let me check on them, by the way. I'm doing okay. Told Patrick I'm taking some PSLV home. That's looking decent. Silver, that's just the silver fund. It's the commodity. I've been in game. I'm trying to get something moving in game. Again, why am I in game? Well, this is one of those short squeeze plays that, has been in the headlines forever. And the price action is telling me that, maybe the new administration and the SEC guy stepping down, there's a new sheriff in town and there might be some more enforcement on short squeezes. So that's kind of why I'm focused on a lot of short squeezes. Everything I'm in right now has the possibility for a surprise short squeeze to really rip the face off the shorts. I'm in DJT. Patrick, I'm in beat. I don't think I didn't let that move yesterday get away from me. Not a big short squeeze there. I'm in rum. This is another lot of naked shorts possibly in this one. 20% is being advertised. And then the game I just talked about. So I'm kind of really leaning on the short squeezes, and I wouldn't mind getting a move in game and selling it before the weekend here. I'm going to keep the silver over the weekend. If there's any crazy geopolitical headlines, I think gold and silver could gap up. I like the chart. I feel confident I could risk that. But it basically just comes down to like rum and DJT. They're kind of similar. They've been making noise about crypto lately. That's a whole other story. Rum's been the CEO. Rumble has been teasing something crypto is coming. DJT has made rumors to buy Bakkt Exchange, which is a crypto holding. So there's some things going on over where DJT is. It's not just about Truth Social, stupid stream. I don't even go on there. It's about a whole other landscape of digital assets and acquisitions. Yeah, Patrick, I haven't really paid much attention to the ETFs, or because I don't want to trade them. I don't need to trade them. But when they do come out, it'd be fun to keep an eye on them for sure. That's a good quote. Okay, is Dual a good mean reversion short? So yeah, we don't mind looking at charts at all here. For Guyot, he wants to look at DUOL. A good mean reversion short. So this is a style of trading that I don't do, meaning jumping in front of a momentum uptrend. And it's a hard game. I'll say this though, if you can do it and you do it early and successful, you get addicted to it. That's actually what happened to me. In 1995, I started trading commodities and I started noticing these overbought conditions that were diverging. And since I had another job, I couldn't focus on tick by tick. I would just establish a short position in the commodity like pork bellies or cattle or hogs or wheat, sugar, cocoa. That was fun to trade in the 90s. And when they broke hard. So that's exactly what you're talking about, Guy. They're fun. When you can catch them, they're fun. But I think it's a kind of a fool's errand to find them. Bull bear traders, Aziz, they're good. I'm speaking of a group. We endorse them. Andrew Aziz, that's who he is. Look him up. If you want to pursue that type of style of trading, he knows how to do it. He's using like 1 minute charts. He's trying to find that moment that I use. See, like if I'm long duo, this is the really important. Okay, if I'm long, I'm staying in. I'm staying in. I'm waiting for that one significant candle that closes like that under the 10 SMA, closes, not trades, not tick, but closes. And so if you can get that, I use that to take my profits on my long trade. But what you're looking at is waiting for that moment to jump in and short that setup. I don't see anything wrong with it. You just have to know you're out. And any new high would be your out. Don't stick around for new highs and say, well, let's just see what happens. It's a starting gun. It's going to be quick. And so that's why I recommend Andrew Aziz. Those guys have figured out how to find the stocks that have gone parabolic and then watch their heartbeat of when they start to roll over and then they short them. But again, as I say, it's a very rewarding style of trading because we all want fast profits quickly. The longer we have to wait for the profits, the harder it is. we're more likely to talk ourselves out of it. That's yeah, I think that's who that is. It's Bulls Bears Trading, Bulls and Bears. So just do a search for Aziz, I think, and Bull Bear Trading, and they have a group, and that's their style. So if you want to pursue that style, I would recommend them. But again, it's a very satisfying way to trade because the money just pours in quickly. And we all agree that's the most, Andrew Aziz, I believe. Yeah, thanks, Patrick. And we all agree that when the money comes in that quickly, that's the easiest and most fun way to trade because we don't have to wait, talk ourselves in and out, sit through pullbacks and sit through noise and second guess ourselves. But when you pick the wrong stock and it keeps going, I've seen a lot of people blow up and get stubborn. So if you're going to do that type of game, you have to know what your out is and never ever allow yourself to blow up because it's easy. Bull Bear Traders on X. Yep. Thank you, David. Those are the guys. I've listened to a lot of people give presentations and webinars, and I don't recommend a lot of them, but those guys, I think, have their finger on the pulse of the method that they try to exploit. They do a good job. Yeah, big trader groups, they're probably more of a personality. But again, I'm a cynic and I've been around forever and I've seen a lot of bullshit. And I don't mind endorsing those guys. From what I saw, I think they've got a fairly decent strategy. Well, yeah, one that comes to mind was Tim Sykes. A guy always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. We actually had a Twitter spat way back in the day. He's a marketer. He did exactly what I was just talking about. He was one of those guys that came out and just kind of pissed all over stocks that ran up quickly 2 or 3 days, biotechs, and then he would find reasons to get short. And so he was a shorty of those, and he found a good market, and he grew his account pretty quickly. But he quickly realized he was a much better marketer, jumping on TikTok with a couple of stacks of hundreds and on his hotel bed. And he just became like an absolutely insane marketer and got away from trading. Those are the people you want to avoid. I think Sean Deckmer does a pretty good job too. He uses our product, and I've listened to him present, and I think he does a good job. You're exactly right, Patrick. I think what I was most impressed about them was, they used the time frame to their advantage. I refuse to use 1 minute candles because I'm convinced that the computers are smarter than me on a 1 minute time frame. So they use for a 1 minute bar closing or below the VWAP, and then they short it. Yeah, same thing kind of I do, but just on a much faster time frame. I used to look at some of Tim Sykes's advertisements, and he'd be in a hotel room in Bali, and he's got $1 million in cash laying on his hotel room. And I thought, that's just not wise. There are smart people who can track you down. Whatever. But yeah, got kids standing in front of a purple Lambo. Avoid those accounts at all costs. I know for a fact Tim Sykes leased a Lambo. I know for a fact, but I'm not going to talk. All right, so was kind of chugging along here. If you guys want me to look at any charts, I'm happy to. Let's check in on the market, see what's going on in the general scheme of things. I'll be here another 25 minutes. NASDAQ just won't sell off. It's not lost on me that this is the armpit here. My 10 SMA is rolling over. We lost it, and now we're just stuck under the smelly armpit here. That is a very repressed state, okay? Now, if we turn around and close today, Friday, going into the weekend with a big green candle above that, I'll change my tune. But for the moment, and again, this jives with what I was talking about over in NVIDIA, Techland, the semis, they just can't get out of their own way today. They're just itching to test these lows down here at 140.99. I would say that. And so with that said, the backdrop of the NASDAQ is just trapped into the armpit here. S&P, a little different, right? They're actually popping above the armpit. So bit of a bifurcation between tech, NASDAQ, and maybe more financials and energy or whatnot. Who knows what it's holding it up. Looks like, yeah, financials are holding it up. Banks. So, and then you've got the Russell, which is doing really well. The rest of the small caps. I mean, and honestly, this is seasonal. Every season, I notice as we go into the shortened holiday week and then into December, you take any small caps that have been doing well, and they just seem to kind of cruise and continue solidly upward, slowly on grinding, moderate to low volume. But there's not a lot of volatile sell-offs, I don't think, seasonally during this next week, because next week's kind of like retail week. The big players, I think, are kind of on the sidelines. It just seems like these small cap stocks just always seem to be happy this time of year. I don't know why. Oops. Checking in on my silver. I use PSLV because SLV is paper. SLV is just an ETF, but PSLV is a separate fund that actually audits accounts for the gold they have in their locker. Oh, BBAI. Boy, I left a lot on the table on that one. I sure did. I participated in day one when I got out. I can't remember my reasoning. Actually, I got out on day two. I didn't get the follow through. I was looking for day one and a follow through of day two that I didn't get, gave up on it, and it just took off on me. So, oh well. But this was a trade of the week last week. I was a week late, but nonetheless. I didn't see any news for beat, Patrick, but when you see a volume bar like that and a big candle like that, I don't need news. We'll just wait and see what happens. ExxonMobil breakout. Yeah. Energy breakout. Yeah. Definitely. More importantly than that, look at how the 200-day SMA was just a wall. And these are the things you have to respect and pay attention to. That's it. That's a resolution if I've ever seen one. And to boot, look at what the catalyst was. This is my perfect example of what I call a pinch play. You've got the 10 SMA, the fast line, corralling the price along a fat 200 SMA, and that was the catalyst that pushed the price higher. This is extremely bullish for oil and gas. So what we can do is we can go over to OIH, the ETF, and see the same thing. How about that? Look at that. So going forward, who was asking earlier? Jay, or I can't recall. Yeah, how do you get your ideas? Well, sometimes you do a top-down approach, Jay. You start with the sector that's breaking out, and then you start looking at the players within that sector. And before you know it, you've got kind of a watch list of ideas that you can keep an eye on that are being confirmed by the ETF itself. Oh yeah, Andy was here yesterday. He's got it to head to Waco today, so we switch. Sometimes Andy and I will switch. Jamie's on sabbatical. Jamie's been trading his style, and it requires tremendous focus. So that's why you haven't heard Jamie on here for a while. He's kind of doing his own thing very well. Yeah, it's easy to give up on beat. It does need news, but Patrick, price precedes news sometimes. Sometimes I'm just way early and I can give up on something and then the headline comes out. But if I'm paying attention, I told myself I've been in and out of beat. I like the product. I like the company. I like prospects for the market. Earnings are behind it. Yeah, I sold it down here as it just was fighting its moving averages. I watched it, and then yesterday, actually, I bought it a few days ago. Then I added to it yesterday. Doesn't matter. Thanks a lot. Oh, you're welcome. Please check MSTR. Yeah, that one might be interesting right now. Um, Big reversal, but boy, was it needed. Here's another great example of why you never fear of missing out, pile in and establish a new position when it's this much distance from my 10 SMA. So we got an elevator pullback, and one day was actually just enough to come back into the general area of the 10 SMA. This is where it's safe again. And these are the kind of stocks you can do what we call trade arounds. I look for this kind of setup right here. Obviously still strong. Let's switch over to the intraday. Well, the intraday, it fought through this blue line here, by the way, is my 5-day SMA. I haven't talked about that. It's 130 candles, and it's just an area of interest, usually a stubborn area of support or resistance. Now it's made it through there, and it's just grinding higher. So it's almost like it's back in play. But the volatility, the implied volatility, the average true range right now on this thing is probably just insane. If I'm assuming if I was long right now on this thing, all I would simply be doing is staying in and sitting on my hands as long as the price stays above the 10 SMA. The minute you get that close below, I'd be out. But it's a great example of what happens when a stock gets ahead of itself like that. So yeah, Perfect Circle. The reason he doesn't is first and foremost, he's a trader and he's got to maintain his integrity of his machine, his PC. And he started to realize that the root of a lot of his problems, you might have heard him talk about, technically, was the fact that StreamYard was streaming also to YouTube. The moment he shut down his YouTube stream, everything cleared up for him. And so I don't blame him. So essentially, we just don't have that handoff anymore. He's still there in his room. He's just not coming in here, and we're doing the handoff anymore. Okay, so let's look at some charts. So you want to look at Reddit? We can look at that. Beautiful daily chart, got a little ahead of itself. Catalyst was earnings, that yellow stripe, of course. Look at how my 10-day SMA kind of caught the sellers and the buyers jumped back in. These are the areas where you want to be entering. You do not want to be entering up here. If you're a new trader, don't do that. Bit of a gap down today. Don't know what that was all about, but it has recovered because there's your signal candle. That's a closing candle above my 10 SMA. Support, support, support. Uh-oh, resistance, and then reclaimed support. So now we're back above the 10 SMA. You just want to stay above that line. That's all I would say. Strong daily chart too, that's for sure. Yeah, he should buy a new computer. I agree. Okay, we can go through a couple of these quickly. Carvana. Oh, a nice daily chart, but look, it's trying to give us a signal here. It's actually giving us, we're 1 minute away from a signal candle. That kind of tells me that the momentum is dying out here intraday. But it's been a nice daily chart, that's for sure. What else did you have? You had FLG. This is what I would call maybe day one. You heard me talk about I like my day and a half trade. Day one is usually a really nice candle, but it needs to close near the top of this candle. And it looks like it might try. So if I was in this stock and this was day one and I was enjoying the fruits of this move, I would hold it overnight, and then I'd probably start looking to sell tomorrow at 12. That's my perfect window right there. But as long as it stays intraday above that 10 SMA, you're golden there. Oh, BE Energy, this was a good one. Model wise, Bloom Energy. Look at that. I lost track of this one. That's solid. That's a solid. I like the company. I like the Look at how the rising 5-day moving average kicked the price higher. Very strong. Bloom Energy is very strong. Again, you're sending me strong trends. All I would do is keep an eye on the 5-day moving average in blue here. And as long as they're trending and staying above this 5-day and even more ideally above the 10 period on the 15-minute, you're good. Oh yeah, DXYZ. This one's crazy. Extremely volatile. I'd be scared to take this one home overnight. Probably a great day trading stock. And look at my 10 SMA. This is why I use these and only these. I don't complicate my charts with 19 different indicators. That's all I need to see. That's all I need to see. Lemonade. It's getting a bit ahead of itself. Big gap up after a big push 5 days. I mean, at some point, this is where the people watch to see if this thing rolls over and gives way of 50. Be careful. Then it has this in its sights down here. Okay, let's move forward. We'll take a peek at AIoT, Powerfleet. So I'm seeing a lot of equipment, fleet management, logistics, huh? Very strong daily chart. Look at that, just riding that 10 SMA. Look at this pullback, just kissed the 10 SMA. I'm convinced that algorithms use this 10 SMA in their input. And when the price comes and kisses and touches it, they have a if then there equals end, reverse, goal, target. So it's almost that simple sometimes. The closer you can buy a strong stock to this rising 10 SMA, the better chances you're going to stay in a trade. Some thermal paste. That's funny, Pepe. Check in on crypto only because I have to. Oof. 419 was the high. You know, this XLM, the one I discussed earlier, that's more like a Venmo, it's peer to peer, digital, wallet to wallet, went from 9 to 31. And it's the little brother of XRP, which went from 50 to 140. It's actually outperforming XRP. The peer to peer wallet is outperforming the institutional wallet. I haven't even discussed my theory yet. My theory is Elon Musk, when he started PayPal, he once said his dream one day would be to have a complete vertical platform where everything is done, including a payment system. He just bought Twitter, and what did he change the name to? X. He actually mentioned XRP quickly the other day. I wouldn't be surprised if someday the headlines start to steer and talk about how XLM and XRP are now supported on the X vertical payment network. It's just a dream, just a thought. Never know. Bird shit, yeah. Probably what it looks like, thermal paste. Okay, NVTS, we can look at that. Wow, big move today. It's going to slam right into $2.50. I'm kind of seeing that as a pivot. You see that? I don't always use moving averages. I still have an eye for pivot. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing. Resistance, 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 support, 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 resistance. There's your pivot. So this thing could slam right into 250 and find sellers. So just be aware of that. Looks like seagull shit. Man, we got owls around here. You don't want any of that. That's like literally whiteout, liquid bones. Owl, owls, they shit out the bones in a liquid paste, and it's really nasty. No, Patrick, just the PSLV, but it's a good chunk of my 401k going into the weekend. I don't trust the miners because they're still a stock. No stocks. I'm just playing the physical. Olo. Boy, God, look at another beautiful example of why I use the 10 SMA and why I preach the closer you can establish a position. Let's watch this in real time. You're watching, you're like, oh my God, I love this. Look at this thing go, but there's no way. Steve told me you'd be crazy to buy up here. You feel good for a moment, and then you got 3 days, 4 days of pain. And then you cough it up because you can't stand this gap down anymore. And somebody who's been watching and waiting says, hey, I'll take this because it's right at the 10 SMA and it's proven itself to be a strong chart. All it needed was a little pullback and an in-breath. Now it can move again. Well, it just took out these highs. Honestly, I'd be selling right here. If I was the smart enough guy to buy down here and get this entry, once I clear this high, I'm flipping my hat and turning into sell mode. What I do is I come over here and I just keep a close eye on this. But to me, a day and a half is perfect timing, and we are in the day and a half period right here. So I start to feel like I'm getting in thin air and the musical chairs are starting. For me, if I had this entry down here, I'd be just itching to take more profits. Oh, Lunar, I've been playing that one. That's a giant short squeeze as well. Come on, I know I typed that. There we go. Look at that 10 SMA holding price. Again, if you were lucky enough to be on the ball and say this Lunar, 31% short the float, this thing's in motion, volatile, but I got to pick my spots. In hindsight, that was a pretty good spot to pick right there. So you can always be using your you can always be moving your price alerts to try and catch these things in real time. That's the most ideal way to catch these. You can't remember all of them, but if you set price alerts for pullbacks at moving averages, this is what Andy and I do all the time. And if you don't know, we've been trading during the communicating during the trading day for about 20 years now. D8, 08, 25 years. So, but it still looks good. If we switch Lunar to the intraday, look at this little cup it's building right there. The moving average might be forcing the issue. Maybe this would be short-lived, but when I remind myself there's 31% short stuck in here, these things might go longer than a day and a half sometimes. So when we're in short squeeze land, all bets are off for how far you can ride some of these things because you've got a lot of people that are literally in fear. What's your opinion of staking on cryptos that offer that? Okay. And so, hi, Chris. I am not in Bitcoin, but I am heavy into XRP. You missed it earlier. I was thanking Gary Gensler for allowing me to stack XRP at 50 cents for the last 2 to 3 years. And what I told the group is I have no exit strategy. What am I going to sell to? What am I going to turn it into? I think the staking that's been done so far has probably been half baked, and I don't really understand enough of it to talk about why or the gist of it. What I want to know about is the future of staking with XRP. I talked about, go back to the global map here, of this is real-time transactions of the ledger, fiat and stable. And it just goes to show the power of XRP is in the speed and efficiency of transactions, especially cross-border transactions. What happens in the future when a lot of the XRPs might be locked up and more assets are being tokenized, and there needs to be more demand for liquidity to facilitate these transfers, meaning the XRP token has to be used in the transfer. And you need tokens available to do that. So I think the staking for me is where I get really excited. That's my exit strategy. And it's not even an exit strategy. It's going to become hopefully a passive income strategy. And this could be 2 or 3 years down the line still, but that's my hope for XRP. And when you talked about staking, to date, I don't have an opinion on how well or how bad it's done to date, but in the future, I think that is the actual play for XRP and the holders of it. And I have no intention of selling. I don't know if it goes to 10 or 100. I don't really, I mean, I care, but I don't have a target. Steel Dynamics, STLD. You know, it's looking like it wanted to do something, but the last 2 days, it just can't close on highs. And then look at how it's now rolling over. And it seems like it's in kind of a holding pattern here. I would watch the 20 SMA, which is in red, because that's what it's been holding. And it held back here and back here. But if it gives way and loses 140, I wouldn't want to be in this name. Yeah, Andy was in Apple earlier, I think. He was commenting on it. Yep. Tesla looks really good too, but I'm not in the big caps. I don't play the big caps. They're too boring for me. I like the action. All right, guys. I'm starting to get a dry throat. And I did hit the end of the questions here, so I'm going to probably shut her down and wish everybody a happy weekend. Just a reminder, I'm in PSLV. I don't have a lot of stock going into the weekend. I'm a little concerned about geopolitical stuff, but I'm not concerned enough to take home silver and a lot of cash. Probably take home this DJT. I'm trying to day trade this GME. I'm not getting the prices I want though, but I don't think I'll take GME home. But have a honey whiskey. Yeah, I will. Margarita after the close, maybe. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you next week. Later.